Hello, everybody. Scott Golden here with the Raw review for the 4th of October, 2021. What a completely, utterly useless show this is, continuing to be. But anyway, Jimmy Smith reiterates draft picks will not take place until after Crown Jewel on the 21st of October, which means they don't take effect till the 22nd. SmackDown Women's Champ Becky Lynch enters, starts the show, receives an ovation. Lynch mentioned it's been about 18 months, but she's glad to be back. She makes the executives by the in the back unhappy because she this is her show now, and she comes out and basically announces this. The crowd chants. The announcers said this isn't yet official. Lynch acknowledges that she's still a SmackDown champion and reminds us that she is the longest reigning Raw champion and never technically lost the belt. Charlotte Flair comes out as the Raw champion, but Lynch thought it was time to beat Becky 2 belts again. Charlotte interrupts. She greets Becky 2 belts, and she's greeted with a Becky 2 belts chant. She said Lynch used to be Becky pre-show until she made Lynch famous. They've got unfinished business. Bianca Belair interrupts. She sees it as both being threatened because they both took cheap shots at her. Belair then says she's now the EST of Monday Night Raw. Charlotte tells her to be quiet. Belair tells her not to disrespect her. And the crowd chants, Charlotte sucks. And Belair tells Charlotte that she doesn't even go here anymore. And then Charlotte puts over Belair's accomplishments, but she hasn't reached her level yet. And thanks her for paving the way for Lynch and edging in on Belair's ability to fight. Charlotte doesn't have to beat Charlotte because she's done it so many times already. Lynch wondered what would happen if Belair and Charlotte fought for the first time. Charlotte wasn't interested in charity. Belair gets in her face. Adam Pearce and Sonya enter. DeVille announced that Belair against Charlotte is the main event tonight. Why are we announcing matches as if we have no planning for the show? Anyway, Pearce announced that Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash would defend their tag team titles against Natalya and Tamina, and no one would care. DeVille announced Damian Priest against Jeff Hardy for the U.S. title is supposedly next. Draft Night 2, Round 1. SmackDown champion Becky Lynch and SmackDown Tag Champs Jimmy and Jey Uso stay on SmackDown. They celebrate this in the back. Raw gets Bobby Lashley. SmackDown gets Sasha Banks. Damian Priest and Jeff Hardy have a match that runs 7:02. Priest hits a dive, which leads to a break 2 minutes into the match, so wrestling doesn't matter. Hardy hits a whisper in the wind right after the break for a near fall. Counters. Hardy hits Twist of Fate and Swanton Bomb for near fall. Priest immediately counters into a crucifix for the win, and most of the match happens during the break, so again, they don't think wrestling matters in this promotion. Sarah asked Hardy about being drafted to SmackDown. Hardy said he loved the crowd and is happy to be performing in front of them again, especially after everything he's been through. Going to SmackDown might provide the opportunity to see a new Jeff Hardy, maybe show off a certain ego, and nobody cares. Austin Theory interrupts. He means no disrespect by interrupting and said that it's his dream come true, being in the ring with Hardy. Theory claimed to be inspired by Hardy and asked to take a selfie with him. Hardy seemed amused by this and goes along with it. Theory takes the picture before attacking him. Theory then takes a selfie over Hardy's lifeless body, which is kind of ridiculous. Kevin Patrick asks Randy Orton and Riddle about having to defend their titles against AJ Styles and Omos at Crown Jewel. Riddle is happy to see Randy again. Riddle rambles on for a while until Orton cuts him off. Orton's ready for Styles and Omos, but before then, he has a proposition for tonight. Orton wants Omos one-on-one. Riddle is shocked. Raw gets Seth Rollins in second round of the draft, and Shinsuke Nakamura and Rick Boogs stay on SmackDown. This excites them. Raw gets Damian Priest. SmackDown gets Sheamus. Shayna Baszler defeats Dana Brooke in 1 minute 20 seconds. And absolutely nobody cared. Graves comments about Brooks that he's glad to see her get an opportunity to develop and didn't think the match was a good idea. Brooks has been in WWE for 8 years, but this is a fact that somehow Graves seems to have forgotten or doesn't care about. Baszler wins quickly with the clutch. Baszler is going to crunch Brooks' arm after the match, but Doudrop's music hit. Doudrop runs in. Baszler have a stare down. Doudrop decides to check on Brooke. Baszler gives her a cheap shot before leaving. Doudrop is unpleased with this. Doudrop waits for Baszler to make another move, but she doesn't do this. Patrick interviews Heyman and the Usos. He wonders if Heyman has some influence on the Usos remaining on SmackDown. Heyman said, of course, after remarking that Patrick is prettier than Caleb Braxton. Patrick wondered if his influence is also on how Brock Lesnar is able to remain a free agent. Usos are not happy to hear Heyman basically appeared out of place here. Angel Garza and Gilberto Carrillo defeat Mustafa Ali and Mansoor 144. Why have them get dressed for this? Garza pins Ali after Carrillo slams Ali's head against the ring post. Garza distracts the referee. Carrillo also prevents Mansoor from breaking up the cover. They play Big E's music and he enters as the announcers let us know that he'd be up next. Start of hour 2. AJ Styles and Omos stay on Raw. Shayna Baszler goes to SmackDown. Owens comes to Raw. Xia Li goes to SmackDown. Big E promo. Big E and Drew McIntyre challenge Dolph Ziggler and Robert Roode to a tag match. Big E's happy to be in Nashville, but this past week it's not without challenges. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods are drafted to a different brand. Crowd is unintelligent enough to still chant New Day Rocks with this. And ultimately, that's that. Additionally, Bobby Lashley took him down to his knees, and he's still your champion. Big E said. Someone immediately enters to declare himself the challenger. McIntyre enters with the sword. He comments, Nashville, it's Jews Day. And yes, it's McIntyre said he was screwed out of the title by Lashley and MVP. And he's been waiting for a hero to free Lashley of the title. Big E, McIntyre wasn't about to antagonize him because he deserved to be champion. McIntyre notes many people congratulated Big E on social media. McIntyre didn't because he wanted to do it in person. He shakes Big E's hand, and the crowd chanted for Big E. McIntyre notes that Big E did cash in on an injured Lashley, but nobody liked Lashley, so who cares? McIntyre couldn't wait any longer. He challenged Big E for a title match. Dolph and Robert Roode interrupt. Ziggler is happy for Big E, even if he didn't return his text. Ziggler also notes Big E didn't thank him. Big E was confused. Ziggler then shows footage of himself and Big E together as a unit in 2013. I didn't even know they acknowledged something that happened before 2 years ago. They did not include AJ Lee, the wife of CM Punk, in the footage. Ziggler said that there was no Big E or New Day without him. Ziggler also reminded us of his history with McIntyre in 2018. All he wants from them was a thank you. McIntyre looked at Roode and sarcastically said that Ziggler sure did upgrade from them. Roode notes how great his physique was, and people call him Big Bob. Big E says nobody, not one single person calls him that, which I wouldn't imagine they do. Anyway, Ziggler again asked for a thank you. Big E said all he was going to do was give him a tail whooping, and Big E suggested a tag match, and McIntyre referred to himself as Big D. They go 10 minutes with the tag match. Big E and Drew McIntyre defeating Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. Ziggler super kicked McIntyre on the outside, which sends us to break. McIntyre headbutts Roode and makes a hot tag to Big E, who gives Ziggler overhead suplexes, a splash, and an STO. But Roode breaks up the cover. Big E tries spearing Roode through the ropes, but Rude gets his knees up and Ziggler hits the zigzag. McIntyre breaks up the cover and suplex Rude on to the outside. Ziggler tries to catch Big E off guard, but Big E hits a clothesline and sets up big ending. McIntyre then tags himself and whips Ziggler with a Claymore kick for the pinfall win. Big E is slightly angry by this. McIntyre's blind tag, but he's happy to win. He also gives Rude a big ending and is about to attack McIntyre from behind. Big E offers McIntyre a title match at Crown Jewel. Then we go to Reginald approaching Pierce in the back because he heard that Pierce wanted to talk to him about the draft. Pierce then said he received bad info. It's a trap. Of course, Viking Raiders block the hallway. So did the rest of the 24/7 crew. Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz bump into everybody before things go that way. Kevin Owens segment, crowd chants for Owens, but before he could speak, Tozawa entered to his music and grabs the mic away from him. Owens is baffled. Tozawa welcomed him to Raw, but then he didn't want to fight Owens tonight. He wanted to fight Reggie for the 24/7 title. Owens gives him a stunner and leaves. Raw gets Finn Balor. SmackDown gets Ricochet. King of the Ring and Queen's Crown tournaments will begin on Friday's SmackDown and continue on next week's Raw. Rhea Ripley and Nikki Ash defeat Natalya and Tamina to retain the Women's Tag Team Championships 4-12. Why even have them get dressed for this? Ripley had Natalya beat with Northern Light Suplex, but Tamina breaks up the cover. Nikki wipes out both opponents with a flying crossbody on the outside. Ripley gives Tamina a riptide and tags in Nikki. Ripley puts Nikki on her shoulders, and Nikki hits a splash to pin Tamina and to retain the titles. So then we go to third hour. Raw gets Karrion Kross, Carrillo, and Angel Garza go to SmackDown. Raw gets Alexa Bliss when she returns, and SmackDown gets Cesaro, Goldberg, and Bobby Lashley segment. Goldberg enters, says he's not buying Lashley's excuses. He knew Lashley's actions were intentional. He invites Lashley to the ring so he could intentionally break his neck. Lashley then enters. He says what happened at SummerSlam was a misunderstanding, and Goldberg was out of his mind if he thought that he could risk ruining his custom-made suit to whip on Goldberg again. Lashley wants Goldberg to apologize for attacking his character. Lashley knows Goldberg wants a match, so that he's going to give it to him under one condition, and it has to be no holds barred. Lashley also invites Gage to the event. Goldberg thanked him because no holds barred gives him a license to kill. Goldberg calls himself crazy. Goldberg said if Lashley wanted an apology, he's going to have to give it to him. He's going to have to apologize to Lashley's kids for leaving his lifeless body in the ring at Crown Jewel. And gasping for air, Goldberg tells Lashley, "You're next, and you're dead." Thought we weren't supposed to say the word dead on a scripted program. They played Goldberg's music, but Lashley cut it off. He said that if Gage gets involved again, what happens to him would not be an accident. Cedric Alexander and Shelton Benjamin attack Goldberg from behind. He fights them off and spears Benjamin. Patrick interviews Seth Rollins. Rollins takes less than 1 second to be as annoying as possible. He said that he was back and better than ever. Patrick was about to remind him of of Edge and was drafted to Raw, but Rollins cuts him off. Rollins didn't want to hear this and said he'd take care of it on SmackDown. Rollins is ready to party. And Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeat Alexander and Benjamin in 2:25. Why have them get dressed for this? There wasn't much to this. Woods picks up a pinfall win on Alexander. After hitting a springboard elbow drop, Woods yells, "Crown me," into the camera, apparently referring to the King of the Ring tournament. Street Profits entered during the match. Dawkins wants to know how New Day escaped The Undertaker, but Ford doesn't want any spoilers. Ford then said he's back on Raw, and they want to smoke. They offered Kingston a drink, and he's happy to take it. They were a short video on Finn Balor making sure we knew that the Demon's coming to Raw, and so then Randy Orton and Riddle enter. After the break, Orton calls out Omos because he still hasn't heard from an answer. Orton wonders if Omos was Styles' personal Colossus or just a big, female dog. Styles and Omos enters. He calls Orton insignificant and said Riddle didn't have enough brain cells left to help Orton retain the titles. Omos is about to answer Orton challenge, but Orton decks Styles while Omos chucks Riddle aside. Omos and Orton stare at each other. Orton lays out Styles with an RKO. The announcers recapped Toxic Attraction attacking Raquel Gonzalez on NXT. And then Raw with the 6th round picks get Carmella, and SmackDown gets Ridge Holland. They run down Gabe Stevenson's accomplishments because he's been drafted to Raw, and Sami Zayn stays on SmackDown. That's where it was before, right? Anyway, there will be more picks on Raw talk. Stevenson is shown reacting, and he's celebrating with his family like they drafted him to the NBA, NHL, or some actual sports league. Bianca Belair defeats Charlotte Flair in a non-title match via DQ 13-10. This is the actual only real wrestling match of the night. They're having a basic match until Charlotte sends Belair over the barricade, which sends us to, you guessed it, a commercial break. Belair fights back and hits vertical suplex. For near fall, she tries a handspring moonsault. Charlotte gets her knees up. Charlotte then shoves her off and shows her own power by hoisting her up into a powerbomb position, falling up with a schoolboy. That doesn't really make sense. Charlotte then tries grabbing Belair by the braid and then chokes her with a forearm. Charlotte escapes a KOD and hits a spear for near fall. Belair slams Charlotte and goes to the top, but Charlotte knocks her off with the moonsault, and then Belair comes back in and reverses a figure four into a small package for near fall. Belair hits the KOD. Lynch yanks her out of the ring for the DQ. Lynch lays out Belair. Sasha Banks attacks Lynch from behind and lays her out with a backstabber. Banks stands tall as the show ends. And again, I don't know why anybody puts up with this for 3 hours. I do it for the reviews and just to kind of get a history and 32 years, 33 years of my life as a fan. It's kind of hard to break the habit, but I wouldn't become a fan on this product. Anyway, we'll be back with more right after this.